Hi, I'm Eric Bolling in for Bill O'Reilly. Thanks for watching this special edition of The Factor, the Trump Agenda. Let's get straight to our top story. President Trump's first 50 days. It's been a whirlwind start for the administration, to say the least. And with us now, counselor to the president, Kellyanne Conway. So, Kellyanne, let's start with some of the, I guess, the pressing thing of the week was the Obamacare bill, the rollout. What's going on? Where do you see it? Where does the president see it?
The president's very confident that he's going to repeal and replace Obamacare the way he promised during the campaign. And I love the fact that this is the first major legislative action while he's been president. Most of it's been executive in nature. And you really see Donald Trump, the negotiator, the decision maker, the deal maker, the great listener. He's been receiving different members of Congress and senators into the Oval Office, into the White House. He's also been working the phones with them. Vice President Pence is on the Hill pretty much every day. Secretary Price, Director Mulvaney at OMB. So it's been a full court press, but it's also really a House and Senate bill. So we know it's going to come out in three prongs. We want people to know that it will be much improved. You're getting rid of those mandates, penalties, et cetera, containing the costs.
I think the big question is he willing to negotiate with the Freedom Caucus? Clearly the House needs the Freedom Caucus to get that bill through the House and then onto the Senate. Will he negotiate? Or Paul Ryan seems to be fairly rigid on this is it, take it or leave it.
Well, the president's a great negotiator and great listener. This is primarily the plan, but he's been very open this week to listening to people's concerns and their considerations, their best practices, and he's been incredibly open-minded and giving an olive branch to many of them. He'll be the ultimate decision maker here. But I would point out to you, Eric, we're really heartened by the fact that in Energy and Commerce and Ways and Means, the bill passed with unanimous Republican support. That's 54 Republicans, including some House Freedom Caucus members. So when they had to actually put it to a vote and not just be on TV or on Twitter, they are supportive of it. We also would just point out that this has been an entitlement for 7 years. Some people live under it and like it, and the president has promised them a smooth transition. He's promised to them that they maybe can continue with the exchanges as they are. But for the vast majority of Americans, they want something more patient-centric and free market. They want these penalties and mandates and taxes gone. They want health savings accounts. They want, which will happen in prong 3, getting the drug pricing under control. They want the interstate mobility of health care where you can buy and sell it across state lines. So everything he's promised to do is part of this.
I want to get to, we have so much to talk to. I want to get to this. I know there's a lot. You can go on, we can go on for hours on all this stuff. But the Trump Tower wiretaps. Now, this has been all over the board. First they said there were no wiretaps, then they say there were wiretaps, then it wasn't ordered by President Obama, former President Obama. Where's the administration right now? Was Trump Tower wiretapped?
What President Trump has asked for and received is for the House and Senate Intelligence Committees to add to their existing investigation this piece of it, and they've agreed to do that. So we will wait until that oversight and those investigations are complete, and then we'll have further comment.
Okay, so he's not saying that it was, I mean, look, I remember a New York Times front page on January 20th using the word wiretap about the Trump Tower or someone at Trump Tower and sending that information back to President Obama.
Well, Eric, we know there are many ways to surveil people now, and you had reports of that just this week. I would note, because the really frustrating part are all the leaks coming from intelligence and security sources, and so that's really the frustration here that the president talks about frequently. And the day after his widely heralded, very successful joint session to Congress, the New York Times ran a story the very next day talking about how members of the Obama administration rushed to preserve and sprinkle around the government these intelligence information. That is not a partisan issue. That's about national security and intelligence, and it affects all of us. And so the president also has that very much on his mind, but when it comes to this particular issue, he has called for an investigation. It seems like that will be underway as part of an existing investigation, and we'll await the findings.
If it turns out that Valerie Jarrett was the one who maybe suggested to Attorney General Loretta Lynch that maybe an investigation or a wiretap would be a good idea, I mean, what's the difference if it's Valerie Jarrett or President Obama asking for it? It still came from the upper levels of the Obama administration.
I don't want to answer hypotheticals, and I certainly don't want to with specific people's names involved in the hypotheticals. But let me just say that Kevin Lewis, who's a spokesman for President Obama, said last Saturday that it was a cardinal rule that the president and people in the White House never interfered in Department of Justice investigations. Okay, let's take that as fact for the moment, but what about the rest of the huge government? That's the point. And even when Director Clapper said nothing under my purview, he couldn't close the door on everything. Director Comey at the FBI almost a week ago now said what he said, asking the DOJ to make a statement denouncing this, and yet if he's got something to say, we're willing to hear it. He's welcome to put out a statement, but we just haven't seen it. We've seen reports of it.
A little bit of controversy the last couple of weeks. President Trump gave the Communications Department a C-. Now, Sean Spicer's had a little bit of a rough time at times in front of the press. Does Sean Spicer have the president's full confidence?
Yes, he does. And in fairness, the president told your colleagues here at Fox that he would give himself an A on substance on the issues, and we all should. 235,000 jobs created in his first full month, including in manufacturing, construction, unemployment at 4.7%, economic confidence up. The markets love this presidency. But the president said he'd give himself an A on substance and issues, and he'd give a C or a C- on communication of it. And then he said, he thinks he could do a better job. I think, meaning we all could, he meant all of us. I think Donald Trump is his own best spokesperson. We all agree when he gets out there, when he does a press conference, when he addresses the joint session of Congress, when he goes to CPAC, when he has the rally in Melbourne, Florida, it is the best way to communicate and connect with people directly. I've never seen a more brilliant communicator and more natural connector than Donald Trump. I think it's in large part how he got elected and cut through the noise and the silence. And so in the White House, I've been the loudest voice for having the president and vice president out there more, our cabinet secretaries. Sean Spicer does a daily briefing under very tough circumstances. I think he does a tremendous job. The president, I'm present when the president is routinely commending the job he's doing. He knows he's under. We all know that we're also representing the president, and we all know that the media can be really rough on the president. We think that they're often unfair. We think that they're often incomplete in their coverage. But it's a two-way street, and we hope that it improves. I'm very pro-press. I hope it improves because we need to have a fair and free press in this country. But we also need the president of the United States to be shown respect.
I'd like you to comment on the travel ban, the new executive order for the travel ban. It looks like it's going to be, again, pushed back. Several states looking like they're going to mount a challenge to it. Your thoughts?
We anticipated several states would challenge it legally, but this travel ban will pass legal muster. It has a new effective date of March 16th, next week, and Iraq is no longer on the list, and I think it's a great signal as to how to get yourself off the list. There are 6 countries on the list. These are all countries that have they either harbor, train, or export terrorists. They can't prove that they are not ridden by terrorists. Some of them are failed states, but all of them were put on a list earlier by President Obama and the Congress. And this president, I think that Secretary of State Rex Tillerson and Secretary Kelly and others have worked with, as I understand, have worked with Iraq to find a way to get a better policy moving forward in reporting and in vetting so that Iraq is now off the list. The other thing the executive order does is make very clear that legal permanent residents, those with green cards, Eric, those who have proper travel and visa documentation, are not covered by this travel halt. They are fine. Also,
that was the one issue that the Ninth Circuit was hung up on.
That's right. It was always true that they were exempt from this, but it wasn't made clear, perhaps. And so that's something that from the get-go here. Also, Syrian refugees are treated along with all refugees, and instead of there being religious persecution exceptions, anybody can apply under undue hardship. So there are some significant changes, and we know it'll pass legal muster.
We've got some